1, 2, 3, 4. Pedagogy a go-go. Pedagogy go-go-go. Hello and welcome to Pedagogy a Go-Go, a podcast about how we engage with learning and why. This is Season 6, Episode 4, Driven, * with Empathy, and we are your hosts, Kelly Allen and Gina Turner. Kelly, we meet again.
Yes, we do, Gina. So good to see you.
So good to see you as well.
Yes.
And we just want to share with anyone who's listening that we are re-recording our intro because you may notice a little bit of lowered sound quality on our interview with our guest today, but it's still very listenable, and we really hope you enjoy our conversation with Kate Oscavich, one of our culinary faculty.
Yes. So it's weird, like talking about this in such like the like just several days later.
Yeah.
Because it's like, wait, what did we talk about again? It's like, can I listen to this again? But no. Yeah, I guess that kind of like makes it sound like it was so forgettable, which it's not.
It's not at all.
And I love the direction that we've been going in with this show, like just making sure that we're really kind of diversifying the disciplines that we're inviting to the show. It's just really been enlightening, and just Kate, like she brought it.
Yeah.
Like, holy crow. And I think I recall having this very strong desire to talk about the bear and then like share some favorite recipes and just kind of like, address all my, I guess, like selfish questions about food. But thankfully no spoiler alert here, but I was able to kind of keep things under control. But yeah.
Well, as much as we ever want to keep things under control. And we definitely get freewheeling at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if anyone has not seen The Bear, because we do reference it in our conversation with Kate, it is a TV show about a high-level Michelin star chef guy who comes home to a little sandwich shop, his family sandwich shop in Chicago, and mayhem ensues. It's a fantastic show. Yeah,
I can't believe anybody would not have heard and then wanted to see it, but I don't know. Cool. And just one last thing that I'll say before we kind of transition over to our time with Kate is that kind of like thinking back on it, one of the things that I just find so just delightful about these conversations, and specifically, as I said again, or as I will say again about like talking with folks from all these different disciplines, is just like how deeply rich they are. So we're talking with someone from like the computer science program, and then we're talking with mathematicians, and now we're talking with someone from culinary, and then at least from like my seat, I don't know like if you're feeling the same, Gina, but like you can really see like how these disciplines, like while they are separate from one another, they also speak to one another. Like there's like these very like sociological elements that go along with them, technological elements, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really energizing to see how they all kind of interplay with one another.
I completely agree with you, Kelly. I think in doing this, every new interview, the ghosts of the old interview inform the conversation. So it's so much fun to be like, right, that highlights something that Charlie said 6 years ago, or that, Sonia said in, the summer of such and such.
I love it. The ghost of the old interview. I feel like we need to have that mantra like on the board, and then when it comes up, like Jeff can do like some kind of spooky music. Oh, here we go. We're talking about Marshall again.
I think we need swag. I think we need a T-shirt that says "The Ghost of Interviews Past."
Yes, I'm down. All right, so Jeff, you're gonna kick us over to Kate.
If you had just one word to describe yourself as a teacher, what would it be?
So I'm glad that I started it out this way. And on the back, because yes, we do have these list of questions that we go over, but also like part of me is just like really curious to learn from our culinary faculty, like what are we doing here with these students. Like they're incredible students, and I've got this like feeling they're kind of what they both need and want from a college education is not like what I experience in my other classes.
Can you say more about that?
For sure. I mean,
we're doing it.
Yeah.
Students in the culinary and baking and pastry field are artists. They're different. They're unique. I'm sorry. Culinary field, they're artists, and the baking field, we're scientists.
Yes. Okay.
So
we're going to have to dig deep on that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
One of the struggles that these students often have is being able to sit down and listen. They're very hands-on. So the easiest way to train them is by doing, showing, demonstrating. So that makes lecture quite a bit of a challenge. But we try to pull from what's trending, what kind of cultural influences can they bring to the table when we talk about food, to pull them in, to get them interested in what we're talking about. And typically talking about, or even mentioning how, food can take you back in time to a moment where you first tasted that thing, or for a really special moment where you experienced a new taste with somebody else. And I try to really emphasize that that's why we do this, to really give people that feeling of nostalgia, but also it's almost like a hug in a bowl, and so usually when I can relate it that way to them in lecture, I can get them more engaged. It doesn't always work.
So that I'm really interested in the type of students that gravitate toward culinary, but I want to ask you, so it sounds like you do both the baking and the cooking.
Yes. So I teach both the culinary classes and the baking and pastry classes. They're two different programs. And so the culinary program has been part of the college for 30 years now. The baking program is only a couple years old now. I think this is our 4th year. And I'm just very fortunate that I get to teach both. Most of the instructors only teach one or the other.
Yeah.
And that is a bit like, not to toot my own horn, but it is a bit unique. Usually you specialize in one or the other. And I've been able to gravitate to both. And I like that. I would say the science aspect of it is probably my favorite, though I love baking and the preciseness and everything. But I also love how creative you can be with culinary and baking eventually. But culinary, I think at first there's more creativity, where baking you need to learn first.
So do you feel like different types of students gravitate to those two different areas?
I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because totally, unless they get confused and they take the wrong class, there is a huge difference in culinary students and baking students. So culinary students are fast. They want to get things done really, really quickly. So I can have them in the lab, do a demonstration, and we can have that done in 45 minutes. Baking and pastry, that might take us 5 hours. And so I know with culinary students, they're going to pick it up really quickly. But a culinary student is also usually flying by the seat of their pants. And so oftentimes I feel like they need to be mentored more so as a professional, because they already have the interest and the creativity, and so now we need to hone these skills. Where baking and pastry, they want to learn from the ground up, and then they can continue to perfect and change and be creative. Baking and pastry students come in with the syllabus printed. They have it memorized. They submit every assignment on time. And I'm still waiting for a homework assignment from culinary students. No, I'm just kidding. No,
no, you're not.
No, culinary students they have different priorities.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. And I love the difference. I think it's so fun.
That would be incredibly fun to have those two wildly different populations. Well, I do have a question.
If I would use fun as it's interesting, and I'm taking mental notes. But go ahead, Gina. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask. So I'm guessing, and I could be wrong, that culinary students are people who have worked in restaurants, and baking students maybe not so much.
That actually often is the case. It used to be a requirement of the program. You couldn't join the culinary program unless you had. However, I feel like that's unfair to the community, because a lot of restaurants will say, we're not going to hire you until you have experience. How do you get that experience if no one will hire you? Right. So I like that that's no longer a prerequisite of the program. But typically, yes, they've grown up cooking. They've done it more with their family. That's not always the case. Sometimes we do have someone who's never touched a stove before. But you're pretty accurate with, yes, a lot of times they have more experience. We're baking. It depends. A lot of the bakers we're seeing are actually people like who work full time and just want a hobby, or who want to open a micro bakery. And so typically that we see more people like closer to retirement age, because this is their second, this is the thing they've always wanted to do that they're finally doing. And that's really neat too to see. So.
Yeah, and that makes sense too with the other ways that you describe them. They're adult students,
older, they're more mature, and that's, and you know, and that makes it fun that way. But it also makes it fun when I have a student who barely knows how to cook anything, because it blows their mind the first time they create a dish. And it's so cool to see.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. What are you thinking, Kelly?
All kinds of stuff. I kind of had like this list kind of like going through my head of like the different questions that I wanted to ask, but then, you know, I'm like, well, am I asking these for me, or am I asking these questions for kind of for the show? So yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. But
well, asking in terms of cooking or asking in terms of teaching, because you were saying you have a bit of an overlap of students with the culinary students.
Yeah, and it's totally for the teaching part.
Yeah.
And I'm actually surprised that I didn't think about the cooking part, because like, yeah, I'm coming into this, and like, while we were joking about it earlier, like, I'm dead serious, like, are we going to talk about the bear? But then the other part, and I don't know like how we can kind of view this through like a pedagogical lens, and that is with culinary students, I find that there's that element of there's the element of celebrity that influences it influences their desire for the field, and in so many very kind of interesting and sometimes terrifying ways, like those who think that like Gordon Ramsay is like, man, I want to be that. And it's like, what? No. But anywho, so yeah, like that element of the celebrity. So we have students who are coming to school because they want to be famous chefs. I find that fascinating, because like, I don't deal with that in my field. You know, like, you know, it's like, you know, yo, did you read that one book by Bell Hooks? That shit is fire. You know, Jeff, sorry. Just right another time of me saying a cuss word. So yeah, we don't deal with that. But the thing is, with that whole celebrity element, it's like, what, and this isn't all the time, but like what they view on like social media, what they view on television, like that is the primary source material, and trying to kind of teach things that that isn't that, or is scholarly, is effing hard. So like I don't have degrees in food studies, but I teach it on TV. No, so like I have them reading articles from you know, like Gastronomica and, you know, other like, you know, scholarly sources, and the pushback at times for that is it's disappointing. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, I wanted to talk about like the celebrity element, because I think that's just something so unique to our culinary students compared to students who are coming here for psychology, or for biology, or, you know, writing or anything like that.
I couldn't agree more. I actually touched on that with what could I change about the profession?
Oh, yeah. Let's jump to it, babe. Let's do it.
Yeah, it would be...
I just said babe.
It would be the misconception, often by television, that personalities like Gordon Ramsay and they exist. And they do. I hate to say it, they do exist, but that's not how every kitchen is. And my goal is to let these people know that you're going to be a leader one day, and you don't have to be like that. In fact, if you aren't, you probably will have better retention rate with your employees. I guarantee it. But people think that kitchens have to be aggressive, and they don't. And I've worked in non-aggressive kitchens, but more than anything, I've worked in aggressive kitchens. And I just don't want to see that keep happening. And so the portrayal's incredibly entertaining on TV. But it does inspire people to act like that. And I have seen people act like that. I've had knives thrown, pots and pans thrown. I've seen people freak out, scream. Every word you can think of, I've heard it. It really barely affects me at this point. So I don't want people to feel like that's part of the pressure they're going to deal with, because there's already enough pressure to deal with. But we also have to mention you might run into people like that too. So I try to emphasize like accountability, respect, teamwork, composure, professionalism, and that professionalism is a key word there, because we would think anybody could just work in the industry and probably make their way up in the industry. I don't know, it would be on them to see how much they advance, but I think when you go to school for it, we specialize in ensuring that you're a professional when you leave her. We try very hard. So we add that element, because I don't know if that's something that's always taught in every kitchen. And nor do I know if that's an executive chef's job. And so I want to see growth in the industry, but I think it should be rooted in mentorship rather than intimidation. So I think we will continue to teach the way that we do. We will not yell, we will not scream, we will not embarrass, and hope that continues. And maybe more realistic shows will come out that show how it really is in a kitchen. But you will meet some Gordon Ramsays out there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. I mean, there's in academia, right? You have that difference in different classrooms. But I will say, I waited tables many years ago, but I love food. I love restaurants. I love going out, and I do love shows like Top Chef, and now Padma Lakshmi has this other show about, and I do feel like over the years as I've watched that show, it's really grappled with this idea that you're supposed to be competitive and aggressive in the kitchen, and there is more discussion of what you said a minute ago about that food is really this emotional kind of beautiful experience that can be tied in so much with your own memories, the shared memories you're making. So, and I wonder too, and this might be getting a little far afield, but because there was also the Me Too reckoning in kitchens, right?
That was a good thing.
Exactly. I mean, again,
Mario Batali.
Yeah, exactly. He was a big,
which from watching him on TV, I don't know if anyone would have ever had those thoughts about like thinking that he could be that way.
Right.
And I'm glad that people like that got called out.
Yeah.
It's already hard enough.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned mentorship and professionalism, and then I'm also still thinking about those two types of students that you teach. But one of our questions is always, if you had to describe yourself in a word, what would that word be? And I'm wondering too, does that word change depending on if you're baking or cooking?
Oh my God, that was brilliant.
That is a great question. So my word comes with an asterisk. So the word I chose was driven. Okay. And I am very driven, because this is one of the best jobs that I've had where like I can see lives changing, people's lives transforming, people becoming more passionate about something, and I love that, and that drives me to keep going. But driven with, when I say an asterisk, with empathy. That's something I think kitchens can lack sometimes. I'm a very empathetic person, so probably to a fault. And my colleagues would agree with that. And so with that, I just want students to know, like, we'll cater this experience for you. Some of you are walking in here and you've been cooking your whole life, and your next step is to be a sous chef or an executive chef. The way I approach your time in school is very different from a student who's never touched a knife in their life. And so driven, but also paying attention to those little things that I have to work on with students, and catering to, basically what their needs are.
I mean, I think that ties together really beautifully too, because in order to be driven, you sort of have to know where you're driving,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And sort of to be able to see that the destinations might be different with different students.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing what I heard you say, which is, it feels especially like what the students are producing. It's like you said, they're artists, and that even the bakers they're all expressing themselves creatively, right? So there's so much of your heart wrapped up in it. I'm sure for the students that a lot of the emotion is because, like, they're learning how to make this dish maybe that they want to, then cook for their family when they get home and to show off or something like that.
And I don't know if this happens so much with English psychology classes, but there's a lot of tears. Yeah. Because people are so passionate. Yeah. And I never see that as a bad thing, because I just know that you care. And though, I don't want you to feel that way, that's what the walk-in's for. Walk in, take your 5 minutes, we've all done it, and come back out and we'll start over. So,
yeah. No, you're right. I mean, the tears in psychology are usually because they're oversharing about some mental trauma. It's a little bit different.
All different.
Yeah. I laugh to keep from crying, but
mental trauma caused in a kitchen somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap with that.
Most of us are there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I think that we've kind of like skirted around this question, but I feel like it's the opportune moment. So, like, why do you teach? What got you into teaching?
So it so happened that we were hiring an adjunct here, and I, at the time, was a general manager for a restaurant. I'd been there as Social Still in Bethlehem.
Oh, yeah.
I had
great
been there.
Cocktails.
They're wonderful. Kate and Adam Flatt own it. They're wonderful people. And I worked for them for 5 years. And I really got to the point where my growth stopped. I felt like I wasn't growing anymore. And it wasn't because of them. It's just I had been in the industry for a long time. So I was looking for something to just kind of massage my brain, just something to make me feel like I was growing. And so saw the adjunct position had opened, decided I would, I was offered the position, fortunately, decided I would try it. And the first class, I was like, oh boy, this is what I want to do. This is it.
Wow.
Because as much as I loved the food and hospitality industry, there isn't a lot of hospitality is very one-sided, where I'm giving quite a bit, but I'm not getting a lot back. I am happy to see people leave with smiles on their faces. I am happy to receive positive feedback. But I don't feel like I'm doing what I want to do for my community. And so when I started here and I had the first time a student finally understands like why a chemical reaction happens and it clicks and you see that happen and you see that happen in real time, it's the most rewarding experience ever. And so I thought, I want to feel like this for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's great.
And so a full-time position opened and I got lucky and I'm here now.
Fantastic. That's so fantastic.
So you said I didn't get to do what I wanted to for my community. Can you unpack that a little more?
Sure.
Because that fascinates the hell out of me.
Yeah. I love being able to give back, and I feel like the community's done a lot for me. As far as like affording like job opportunities, friendships that I have, places I love. And I want to be able to contribute in some capacity. And as much as me getting you a cup of ranch dressing makes you happy, that's not fulfilling me.
Yeah.
And so this is fulfilling, and I get to then see these people out in the community either baking, cooking, or owning their own business. And how cool is that?
Yeah.
And just better for me. Now I have more bakeries I can go to, more restaurants I can go to.
And you know they're good.
And I do. And I know that they are Serve Safe certified. So there's a lot of benefit to that.
That's so great.
And that's like crazy unique because, and this is like, Gene, I don't know if this is something that you and I had talked about, like in regards to the way higher ed generally teaches both education and its students. And actually, it's not just higher ed, it's also like in the K through 12 world, it's that like in order to make something of yourself, you have to leave here. You have to like go out, like go to like a college that's like not in this town. You got to go and like do your education there. And then to make like something of yourself, you need to go make your mark someplace else. It's very rarely are the conversations about, get your education and then like, let's find a way that we can, help make something of the community that raised you, the community that we live in.
Yeah, that bring it back.
Yeah. We see like, I guess in like very like extreme examples of like, where that's happening in areas of extreme poverty. We're seeing this in areas of with indigenous communities in the United States where it's like, success is out there and it's not like here in our community. And I think I've shared this on the podcast before that like when I was going through high school, like our guidance counselor said, if you want to make something of yourself, you cannot stay here. There's no opportunities for you here. So your choices are either go to college or join the military. So it's like always like this, and it's like this kind of weird, like settler colonial kind of thing going on there. But it's always like moving out. But Kate, what you're saying is like you're encouraging and you're embracing kind of this thing of like let's make something of where we are now. And like, so there's one of your recent grads who like, I'm not going to share their name because I don't have permission to, but like I know that they're, I think perhaps working part-time at this new Dominican patisserie in town from Lino. And it's like, just like seeing him there, just crushing it and just like he is invested in his community. Makes me feel so damn good. And to hear you kind of like being aware of that, just it's like the icing on the cake.
I have to shout out from Lino. That place is incredible.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, Dominican influence.
Oh boy. Okay.
Incredible. Different from everybody else. Her stuff is very sourdough based. She has an incredible sourdough. And she's been doing it for a while now. I've been a big supporter of her. She used to be inside of Lit on the south side of the coffee shop.
Okay.
And I'm just really excited to have a place like that here in the Lehigh Valley.
That's fantastic. Well, so to what you're saying, Kelly, I just recently heard the statistic about our school that about 96% of our students stay in the area because I think it's so job oriented. What can I do to make a living for myself? How can I come in and be a superstar chef? But honestly, to start my own business, which again for communities like the ones you're talking about, oftentimes that's the pathway, is start a business, not the longer path necessarily of go to grad school, go to work your way up through those longer pathways. So I think there's something really compelling and kind of beautiful about that too, right?
Well, but like I think like another element of that is just the very stark reality that an overwhelming majority of the students who go to community college are local. So it's like that kind of that familiar kind of thing from student to student and like students to faculty, like we see them out in the community. Like that is a very rich and I think often under-discussed quality of community college education. But yeah, like as I had just said, like what you had shared with us, Kate, is I think the first time that I've heard someone talk about kind of like what they're doing as a way of giving back to their specific community. So that was cool. Thank you.
That's great. We've sort of talked about the ways in which you're recognizing these different types of students and how you sort of are driving them in your driven way to the path that they want to go on. I'm wondering, for you, were there teachers, mentors that really had an impact on the way that you're interacting with students now?
For sure. So one name in particular, Chef Scott Calamar.
Yeah.
I'm a graduate of the program here at NCC.
Oh, great.
Chef Scott was my instructor.
Okay.
I did have other amazing chefs too, but I was mainly with Chef Scott. And he's just such a great person to be around. He's who I base this off of. He did what I was saying in that, you look at each individual skills and work with them based on what those skills are, and everybody is going to be different, and that's okay. And so for him, he held us to really high standards, which I appreciated. I think culinary students in particular need to be held to those standards, and that's what ends up making them amazing, because they get pushed. And so, but he invested in everyone as an individual, and I loved that. And I could run into him now, and he would be like, how are you? How is your grandma? And he knows every little thing about his students, and I love that. But he was able to find a really great way of balancing discipline with encouragement, because we need discipline. I know even myself, I needed discipline at 18 years old for sure. And so he made it so he could build confidence rather than like fear. And I think a lot of kitchens are fear-based. And he taught me, because I did watch those shows with Gordon Ramsay, he taught me that's not the way it is. That's not the way it has to be. He also, some of his sayings just echo in my head still.
Yeah.
He had a couple sayings, and I bet if anybody who graduated from the culinary program when he was there will be able to quote these too, but the clock is the boss, don't be a horse with blinders, all these just little sayings that just are forever just ingrained in my memory, and I love it. Even when I read the word Chervil, I can only hear it in his voice. And that's because I had never even heard of Chervil until I came to school here. So I really try to model the way I do things after the way he did things too. So.
That's great. Do you think that you would have thrived into this, which you obviously have done, thrived into this profession, if you had had more of a, we keep calling out Gordon Ramsay, but we'll keep doing it. He's the famous example, right?
I would say that poor dude, but
he's fine.
He's fine. Yeah. He's fine.
Totally fine.
Do you think if you had someone like that when you were 18, what that would have done? Because there's a part of me that thinks you would have said, you're not gonna, dude, you are not gonna, stand in my way.
At that age, I don't know if I could have.
Yeah.
I think that got, over time, I built that up, and I eventually was able to do that.
Yeah.
But at that age, no, I don't know if I would have ended up in the industry. And so I'm so glad that I was exposed to someone like Chef Scott, but I'm also, down the road, I did get to have the mean chefs, and I'm glad that I got to see what I don't want to be in the industry. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh. Yeah, I just think of even, the bosses that you have where it's like, I'm going to prove to you. but you're right. You sort of have to have built a little bit of confidence in yourself before you can start proving things to.
There's one chef in particular I worked with who was hands down one of the most talented chefs I've ever worked with in my whole life. And he just couldn't he couldn't handle the emotional side of things. He was such a good boss when it came to, or chef, when it came to teaching people how to cook, but when it came to composing himself and being kind to people, he wasn't capable of it. And when he asked questions, he would only ask in a way that made you feel stupid.
Oh, gosh.
And he got fired.
Good.
And it's such a shame.
Sorry.
It took a while to fire him because he was such a good chef, but he got fired. And like, that's a shame. What a waste of talent.
Yeah.
You know, if that gentleman maybe just had some therapy, I think
Yay, therapy.
It's really important. I think he would be one of the most famous chefs I know.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that people need to consider. What kind of boss do you want to be? What kind of chef do you want to be?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have to say, you know, give my pour one out for Anthony Bourdain, who seems to have really done that arc of like, he grew up in the rock star kitchen, screaming, yelling, and then became this incredibly self-aware, empathetic, open human being. And I mean, it's still heartbreaking.
I love Anthony Bourdain. One of the first books I read before moving, you know, going to the kitchen industry was Kitchen Confidential.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And he finally articulated what actually happens in the kitchen. I don't think anybody was able to really like capture that in words until he came along. The true story of what's going on back there. Yeah. And I love that. And I love that people just got an idea of how much hard work and grit and persistence goes into this.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's great. Well, so is there something you really like doing, like an exercise, maybe it's early in the semester, or maybe it's like, you know, when they've really started to, pun intended, when they're really starting to cook. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
So I have examples from both sides, actually. So one of my favorite assignments is a written assignment when we're still in our lecture class, just asking students, why do you want to be a chef?
Okay.
Who inspired you? And my favorite one ever, what is the biggest mistake you have ever made in the kitchen?
Oh, wow.
Because there are a lot of them. And the responses range from deeply personal to unexpectedly humorous, but they're very revealing. And they tell me how much experience someone has in the kitchen, based on the type of mistake that they've made. Yeah. And it also just sets the tone that like mistakes are part of this.
Absolutely.
You are here to make mistakes because you are going to learn from it instantly. And we want you to make those mistakes here. Where we don't want you to make them when you're working for your employer. They're going to happen, but that's costly, you know? And so at least if it's happening here, it's in a very controlled environment. So, but I love that assignment because kind of like builds trust and lets people know like we all make mistakes and these people in the classroom, because we present them, and these people in the classroom have made similar mistakes as you. Yeah. So
do you share a mistake?
Yeah, my favorite, which is, okay.
I love this, my favorite mistake.
Hey,
who says
that's
that?
a song.
So it's funny now, it wasn't at the time.
Sure.
But, and I'm sure a lot of people have done this. So parchment paper is what you use in an oven. Parchment goes under your food. Wax paper is not. And
I feel like I've made this mistake.
I have, yes, because of this mistake, I have a little thing I tell the students. Parchment is what you use in the oven to bake. Wax paper is what you use in the oven if the thing you're trying to make is fire. And so hopefully that sticks with people. Don't make that mistake.
Stink really bad.
It was gross, yeah. So because you don't catch it at first until it starts to smell and smoke. But that's a common one that people make. And then all the way on the other end of things, right as my baking and pastry students are about to graduate, their final project is to create a 5-course tasting menu of desserts.
Oh my gosh.
And so from start to finish, from costing to plating to everything, they do it. And we did it for the first time last year. I'm going to get teary just thinking about it because it was such a neat experience. But The students, they did it. They made a menu, and they put it out. They served their friends and family. My dad got to be there, which is so cool. And yeah, they just put out this incredible tasting menu, and I just couldn't. That was so exciting to see.
Yeah.
There's people who, one of them didn't even know how to light a pilot light on an oven. Now can put out a 5-course meal with her friends.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really neat.
What a concrete way to see the growth that the students have had. I mean, that's really
and
cool.
I'm jealous in that regards because
me too.
We don't get that in what we teach. It's like, that's amazing. This essay's so dope. I'm like, no, it's
I'm
like,
about to make you more jealous.
Oh,
Think
sweet.
about what I have to do for professional development.
Yeah, that's true.
If I get to go take a class on cookies, or like I make PowerPoints on cakes. How cool is that?
That is so
That's
cool.
very cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I wish I could cook.
Just come over sometime.
I'm going to. One of our colleagues did the pastry program.
Amazing.
And she brings in these amazing things.
Yeah, she's one of those who she will never stop perfecting her art.
Yeah.
It will always get better and better and better, and I love that. And everything, she still sends me pictures and everything. I'm just like, I can't believe you just graduated. Like, you seem like someone who's been in the industry forever.
Yeah, it's so cool. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Oh, so that just made me think of something else, though, because so when you're saying that, like, it's something that you've been doing forever and ever, like, so I'm sure that there's, plenty of students that come your way that have been in kitchens for a number of years, or they've been cooking at home for a number of years, and in that, like, I'm sure that there's like some great things that they've learned and that they can then, teach you. So let's talk about that. But also, I'm sure that they also develop some bad habits. How do you teach through that?
That is very common in any kitchen. So we start our first class that we teach before we even get to the kitchen is Serve Safe. It's a food safety and sanitation course. And essentially, if you do not pass that, you have to take an exam after 2 weeks. If you don't pass that exam, you do not move forward. And so because we take that so seriously, it is ingrained in their brains, hopefully, by the time we get into the kitchen. But our job is to reinforce those good habits and start calling out the bad habits. I would never, yell at someone in front of everybody else. I would say, I make a list. I see something, I'll be like, hey, just some gloves on for that, or make a note, and then the next day we go over all of our mistakes because we've already set the tone that we're going to learn from our mistakes. So it is constant reinforcement, but it is anything simple from, if you are not going to cook a food any longer, you cannot touch it with your bare hands. That is a standard in a kitchen. And so I'll see a student putting together a salad and bare hands right in the salad, and I said, you going to cook that? And they look at me kind of dumbfounded. You're not going to cook it. It's got to go in the garbage.
Wow.
And that's a shame, seeing food go in the garbage. Yeah. So that's pretty impactful to students, especially, with food security being what it is. And so that makes a big difference too. Just kind of paying attention. I get really lucky. I have multiple colleagues in the kitchen at once. And so I need to have more than one set of eyes on all these students. We can have up to 20-something students in the kitchen. That's a lot of people, especially when there's fire and knives and all that stuff, and things are slippery.
Wax paper.
So having their eyes is really helpful, especially like Chef Will and Chef Katie have been here so long. Something that I might miss easily, they saw it 6 months ago, you know, so that's nice having them for that.
So thinking about, I love that where you're just reminding them, are you going to cook that again? Like, that's the rule. So they now have that rule etched in their brain. The other thing that Kelly's question made me think about is something that pops into my head when I do watch a show like Top Chef, and they have chefs who are not cooking in the sort of haute cuisine, French, right? The sort of, and they're bringing their own cultural foods, and and then you see the tension sometimes between the way they're being judged versus the way that food is culturally prepared.
Sure.
So I can imagine that there are some students who are coming in with those expectations of flavors and the way that you cook X, Y, or Z. How do you kind of bridge that difference?
Ensuring that we keep it authentic. Sure. I never intend to change the way, like, I don't want to change something that's important to them as far as their culture goes. But I want to see how we can maybe make it fine dining worthy. And so that's how I would present it. Say, I know this is traditionally how you would always enjoy this, but if we were to serve this in a fine dining restaurant, we would need to do X, Y, and Z. We have to change presentation. We have to be able to make it something that is easily that can be eaten without making a mess. And that's something that a lot of people don't consider when they're cooking food. Is this something that I can get on a fork easily? If I serve a crouton this big, sorry, podcast. If I serve a crouton that's the size of a baseball, that's going to be a problem. So just keeping those little details in mind is a big part of it.
Oh yeah, that seems so simple, but it kind of blew my mind.
If you don't do this, you don't know about this.
Well, and so, like, a challenge that I kind of face both in classes where I'm teaching about food, so in my food and identity class or sustainable food systems, but that I'm also facing in my writing classes is kind of this. So, like you talked about, Kate, like, is this fine dining worthy? And like, I have a difficult time with that. And it's the same thing with the writing that my students kind of bring in. It's like, is this academic writing worthy? And that sometimes gives me the icks, because like, who wrote those rules and why did they write those rules? So there's a power thing going on there that, it doesn't sit well with me. And so there was an episode of, I don't know if it was on Ugly Delicious or Taste the Nation. I don't know. Oh, and wait, press pause on that conversation. So, Gina, you mentioned a new show by Padma Lakshmi, so I want to know what that show is.
Taste the Nation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, been there. All right. So, but anywho, so in one of them, there was a chef who, it's a Michelin-rated restaurant in Mexico. And one of the things that he was talking about was it on Taste of Nation?
Yeah, that rings a bell.
So he was talking about like Mexican cuisine was essentially not allowed to be fine dining. Like anyone who has ever had like authentic Mexican food knows like how effing intelligent that stuff is. I mean, the flavors are just insane, and then like the cultural influences, like there is a lot going on there. And then to say that is not fine dining, or that kind of like that level of cuisine, is insulting. And just because it isn't like French or whatever. So like, how is it that? And so here's a two-parter. Like, so how is it that you manage those kinds of conversations? Because, like, our students come with a lot of rich culinary traditions. So how do you kind of balance those conversations about, like, addressing where you are and then finding out where you want to be, but then also, like, on the tail end, I'm just curious, like, what is it that you are learning from your students that perhaps you didn't know prior?
I
don't know how well those two will transition together, but you know what? You're on the hot seat.
So when it comes to, I totally understand what you're saying about how the worthy, that part can seem almost like we've boxed in something, and I think students have to understand how many different ways there are to present food. And so fine dining is one of those options. And it's not for everybody. And just because it's fine dining doesn't mean that it's better food than a dive bar might have. It's just a different, it's its own category. And so I don't need every student to graduate and think or want to enter a fine dining restaurant. We'll have people all over the map. We'll have food trucks. We'll have people who are interested in getting Michelin stars or James Beard Awards. But that doesn't work for everybody. And in fact, there's chefs who, I think it's Marco Pierre White, who he got a Michelin star and he said, I don't want this. This has made me have to change the way I do things because of all of your expectations. And I don't want to do this. I got into this to do my thing. And so we remind people of that. You don't have to fit in the fine dining box. You can do your own thing. You might not necessarily be eligible for a Michelin star the way that, a fine dining restaurant in New York is. Who cares? Are you doing it well? Is it delicious? Is your community supporting you? You don't need that Michelin star. Right. So we let students know this is what you would need to be able to do and express if you want to be in fine dining. But if this is the way that you want to serve something, then you can do it that way. You just have to be able to express that this is the way you're doing it, and that this is made with love. You know. And so we don't encourage everyone to have to graduate with very specific French skills, because I think what makes cooking, especially in America, so amazing is that it's not just French cuisine. It is influenced by every different culture, and that is what makes it so good. We don't have, I teach students yes, this is a classic way of doing it. Is it the best? No, but this is a foundation that you need to learn, and then you can take it and build on it. And so, I just wanted to touch on, I don't want students to feel like they're not worthy if they can't do fine dining things.
I mean, sorry, no, to kind of tie in what the two of you were saying too, and in terms of quote unquote academic writing, there's this whole perspective on linguistic justice, which is saying exactly what you're saying, Kate, which is that we all come with incredible, rich language heritage. And that what we want to do is increase everyone's vocabulary to be able to talk about what is academic English, what is classic French cuisine, right? So that you have the vocabulary to be able to recognize what you do and don't want to do, right? But it seems like it's a way of increasing knowledge. So I'm sorry I jumped in because I also really want to hear the answer to the question, what have you learned from your students? What have they taught you?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So certain students, I learn more about different cuisine, just because it's cuisine I haven't been exposed to. And I love that. Right now, I have a student from Turkey. And so I'm learning quite a bit about baked goods that I just didn't know before.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think, people can benefit from that. If I could just mention an example of that. So Chef Dom, who's our director, he owned the Mint. And the Mint was a gastropub, is what they called it. And so what that means is it's good food, okay? It's going to be good food and probably paired well with good beverages too, but it can mean a lot of different things. But essentially what Chef Dom did is he pulled some of his background. His family's from Italy. He went to school in Italy, so he pulled a lot of his background, but didn't want to have another Italian restaurant. Rightfully so. We have enough of those, I think. And when he hired people, he asked for their ideas. And so when it came to, he wanted to have some sort of mozzarella stick on the menu. He actually listened to one of his employees who had been making a particular kind, I forget which, his background, I think he was Dominican, that they then used that type of, it wasn't a mozzarella stick, they had a different name for it, but they put that on the menu. And that was unique, and now you're not just going and getting mozzarella sticks. Although mozzarella sticks are perfect and delicious.
They are delicious.
And so I love that. Everyone can benefit from that. I've also had students that, I've had students that are very well-rounded in the industry already, and they just need the degree so they can get promoted. Their employer said, I just want you to have, a degree before I promote you into the sous chef or the executive chef. And that I've seen that happen a number of times with students. And so from them, I am learning skills from them. I am learning a shortcut that they have that they learn from their chef. And that is always really cool too, because then when I'm explaining the traditional way of doing it, I can say, but there are other ways of doing it. Like chefs are typically using a food processor to make hollandaise sauce. People aren't doing it by hand. But we teach you how to do it by hand, because you're going to have your hands in a kitchen. You might not have a food processor that's working that day. So that's why it's important.
That's great. Well, I have more questions, but I know we're getting close on time. So I think we have to move on to our last.
We got to start doing like follow-ups.
Yes, we do. We do. Part 2.
So I think I remember like on the original Queer Eye.
Yes.
That they would do that, like that they would meet with someone and then like they would go and see how they're doing like a year later.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like we need to do that with this, because like the whole thing of fine dining and academic writing, like
I get
lot
to unpack.
I get feisty about it, because I feel like there's a lot of like gatekeeperish stuff going on. It just does not sit well with me. But anywho, so we can't do that. So guilty pleasure time?
Yes, guilty pleasure time.
All right, do it.
Have you come up with your non-guilty pleasure? You shouldn't feel guilty about it. That you would like to share.
So sometimes I'll spend all day here helping students put together entrees, and we'll make all kinds of baked goods, from Danish croissants to mousse, and then I go home and I have a bowl of cereal for dinner. And that is very common. I don't go home, and a lot of people are like, oh, you must eat so good at home. When my husband cooks, I do.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
I'm really not. I'll cook for the holidays and stuff, but I'd rather have someone cook for me. Yeah. And so when a lot of the times people will be afraid to bake something for me, because they're like, oh, it's not going to be like your standards. I don't care. Yeah. I'm just happy someone baked for me. Yeah. So it's okay. Yeah.
Is your husband in cooking? And
I met him in the industry. He was a cook. He's not anymore. We both cooked at a restaurant. That's where we met. He's a tattoo artist.
Oh, cool.
And so at the time he owned his own shop, and I had a really big crush on him. So I just kept getting tattoos. So that's why I have a lot of them. So.
What a great flirting technique.
It worked. We're married.
That's a first for me. Holy crap.
So audience, take note.
Well, I do have... Man, I love this podcast. What is your go-to cereal?
Oh, okay. I really like... I like healthy cereals a lot, but
Captain Crunch is...
Captain Crunch is so good, but I don't like that. For your mouth.
Yeah, it scrapes everything
There is another cereal that you can't find anymore that tastes just like Captain Crunch. It's called Quisp.
Oh, I remember Quisp.
Quisp was around, and it's not around anymore, and it didn't mess up the roof of your mouth. So that's my... Quisp.
Yeah, I totally remember Quisp.
It's a throwback, yeah. So that's one of my favorites, but right now, Kix are up there. I know that's pretty simple.
Peanut butter Kix.
Peanut butter Kix are great.
Oh, wait. So do you feel, since you're a chef, that your cereal needs to be bougie?
Yes.
I'm devastated.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't
feel that way. People have made me feel that I have to feel.
See, I was waiting for you to be like Lucky Charms.
I don't think Kix is not bougie.
Huh?
Kix isn't bougie.
It's kid tested, mother approved.
Exactly. Thank you, Jeff. Kid tested.
I am not saying it's bougie, but I'm getting this energy that you feel kind of like a little embarrassed that it's Kix.
You're right. I do. You know what? I take it back. That's a solid cereal, and you're right. It's been tested by both kids and mothers.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So turn your nose back down from sticking it up.
It wasn't up at... No, come on. What are you talking about? So, okay. And what kind of milk?
Whole milk. Oh,
nice.
I'm a whole milk girly. Yeah. Nice. Full fat, everything. Butter, whole milk. I don't compromise. I think it's Julia Child took a quote from Oscar Wilde, everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yes. Preach.
I feel like if you just enjoy those indulgences, now you're not going to overdo it later. So
Yeah.
I enjoy. And I'm also on my feet like for 10 hours a day, so I usually work it off pretty quick. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not judging. I can't do milk anymore, though.
No,
Yeah.
I'm on the oat milk.
It's not like, you know, anything dietary. It's just that, like, we used to get raw milk from this place in Hellertown, and then when we stopped doing that, we went to soy milk, and then it's like going from like raw milk to soy milk was an easy transition, but going from soy milk back to cow milk, it's like there's something about the smell. I can't do it.
Yeah. I know. You get used to the plant-based.
I wish that I didn't, because I've been in various states of veganism and vegetarian my whole life, and so I've tried to go without milk and butter, and there's something really special about those ingredients that make food.
Absolutely.
I will tear up a stick of butter.
Oh,
yeah.
I love butter.
My aversion to cow milk ends in the jug. Like cheeses and butters and anything else, yogurts. Gimme.
Same. Yeah, I have no explanation. All right. Well,
Crazy, man. But okay.
This has been really fun. This has been really great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
And seriously, I think that would be such an interesting conversation about, you know, basically the languages of culture and how they intersect in all of these disciplines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Kate, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was really. I was so nervous, and I didn't have to be. So
Good.
thank you.
It was Jeff, right? It makes everybody nervous.
Jeff is the anchor being for. That's what Marshall Miller said that about Jeff.
Yes.
And I can't not. I called Karin. She's an anchor being too. She.
Yes.
Karin Donahue, definitely also. An anchor
She's
being.
someone else I'd like to bring back on. But okay. Oh my gosh, we digress. Yes. So Kate, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. This has been great. So.
Pedagogy a go go. Pedagogy go go go.
All right. Well, we hope that you all enjoyed our show. I know that I personally got so much out of our conversations with Kate, and we are just totally dead serious that we're going to come back with a part 2. I think that we're in agreement here, Gina, that we just really found specifically that part about kind of the comparisons of fine dining and academic writing, just, I don't know, stimulating something that's worth talking about further.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it would be fun maybe even to bring in another discipline to sort of have that part 2 conversation.
Gina, you are reading my freaking mind. Because I was going to ask, like, Jeff, like, how many microphones do we have? Because I would love to get, like, I don't know if we could really manage a conversation of this size. I mean, well, hell, I'm down for trying, but, like, it'd be cool to get, like, 6 disciplines in here and talk about kind of that almost kind of like gatekeeper element that they see like within their discipline, and just I don't know.
Yeah, it's such a live topic right now too, right? Like what we value, what knowledge is of value, how do we compare different layers of knowledge within and across these disciplines. You know, again, what I said during the interview was something to the effect of comparing it to teaching APA style, right? American Psychological Association writing style, that I can very much just be like, this is how we write journals just so that psychologists know what journals look like. So I argued that that's less freighted with judgment and value, but I'll bet you anything there are people in my field who are like, this is gatekeeping language, right? So for me to have said that shows I made some assumptions that I probably need to explore about my own discipline. So let's do it. Let's do part 2.
Now I'm like totally curious. Like, what would those kind of gatekeeper things be? I mean, because oh gosh, no, because we don't have time to do this. Yeah. Let's do it, Gina. I'm down.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yes.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Pedagogy A Go-Go, recorded in the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology at Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Our producer in all things technology is Jeff Armstrong. If you've got any questions, please send them to pedagogyagogo@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on social media at pedagogyagogo and click into our bio for copies of podcast transcripts, guest assignments, and other useful tidbits. Until next time, this is Gina and Kelly saying we hope your day is filled with wonderful learning experiences.